Alright, this is your second DIY for 711C. So let's take a look at it. You should have this note sheet in front of you, and we're going to first talk about the vocabulary. And we have complementary angles. So what complementary angles are: two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Then supplementary angles are two angles that add up to 180 degrees. Vertical angles, which we talked about in the last DIY video, are angles that are opposite and congruent. And congruent means that they're the same. A lot of times you'll see this little symbol for congruent. And remember, a lot of times you'll see this little symbol for angles. So this means like angle 1. And then adjacent angles are angles that are beside each other. So let's look at some examples. So we have to name the relationship: complementary, supplementary, vertical, or adjacent. So number 1, if you remember from the first video, I told you that the vertical angles that you can see that there's a V and a V. So that'll help you remember that those are vertical and their angle measure is the same because vertical angles are congruent. Number 2, we can look at, and we have a straight line and a ray that comes off of the line here. So these angles are beside each other, so they are adjacent. But they are also supplementary because the two of these angles together add up to 180 degrees because they are on this line together. And remember, a straight angle measures 180 degrees. So now let's look at number 3. V, which means they're vertical, and their angle measures are the same. Okay? Number 4, we have angles that are complementary because they are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. This is a right angle. Remember that right angles measure 90 degrees, and it's usually indicated with that little box, but we have it bisected by a ray, so that means that this angle and this angle added up together must equal 90 degrees. So let's look at finding the missing angle measure. So I know that these two angles added up together equal 90 degrees. So I can set up an equation to find what the measure of angle B is. So B plus 65 must equal 90 degrees. I can subtract 65 from both sides, left side, right side. And I can see that B equals 25 degrees. Now you could have just said 90 minus 65 and you get the same answer just like we did right here. Alright, these examples you need to draw on your piece of paper. So I have an acute angle. Remember, acute angle is less than 90 degrees. so less than 90 degrees, and I can set up an equation to see what the measure of this angle is. So 2x plus 20 is less than 90 degrees. Here we go with the equations again, except it's an inequality, not an equation. Left side, right side, minus 20, minus 20, and I get 2x less than 70. Now I have to divide by 2, and I'm left with 1x, and that's going to be less than 70 divided by 2 is 35. So I know that the measure of this angle here is less than 35 degrees. So it makes sense. We know that it's less than 90 and 35 is less than 90. So it's an acute angle, and that's how you can find what the angle measure could be. Alright, draw this example on your page, and let's look at trying to find what the missing angle is. Well, we can look at this as a straight line, and I know that a straight line, that the two angles together add up to 180 degrees, so I can set up an equation. 4x plus the 52 has to equal 180 degrees. Minus 52, left side, right side, minus 52. So 4x's equals 128. So how much does 1x equal? I have to divide. So 4 will go into 128. $32. So I can go back and say that the measure of this angle is 32 degrees. One little thing that I like to show you on complementary and supplementary, it's always remembering which one is which. So if I have the word complementary, please write this down. I can just make this into a 90 to remember that complementary is two angles that add up to 90 degrees, and then the supplementary, is the other one, which is at 180, but I can kind of make this look like a 180, like that, to help me remember that. So you've got some practice, and you can ask questions while you're doing your practice to make sure you understand complementary and supplementary angles. If you have any questions, be sure to let me know. If you don't understand, be sure to let me know.